Hey everyone, it's Shelly Hoffman with Heart Home and Community, and I'm here once again with Chief Mike Lefancheck from the Village of Baldwinsville. And weekly, Chief, you give us updates, and they're so appreciated. I'm glad you take the time to reach out to the community. How was your week?
It's been good. It's always as I've said before, and I really mean it. I do look forward to Monday mornings to be able to have a chance to chat with you, and then it always amazes me when I look at the number of people that have actually watched the video over the course of a week. It's nice that I have that opportunity to talk to as many people as I do.
Well, like I said, we appreciate it. So what's been going on this week in the village? Anything good, bad? Just it's been almost 4 weeks, I think, that we've kind of been
Yeah.
quarantined,
Yeah.
social distancing. Has anything changed, or differences you're seeing?
Well, the main thing I really want to talk about today is the issue of domestic violence. And people probably don't realize this, but even normally, in normal, what I would refer to as normal circumstances, pre coronavirus, pre pandemic, um, we handle a lot of domestic dispute incidents on a general basis. But as I'm looking at our call volume and I'm looking at what we're doing, and I got a phone call this morning about a domestic dispute that has sent a victim to a hospital that occurred here in the village, and this was even before I made it to work at 8 o'clock this morning. Um, so those things are happening in our community, and I just want to let people know out there that there are some resources available. That if you're in a situation that is dangerous or is problematic, you don't even have to pick up the phone and call someone. You can simply send a text. The New York State Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, they've come up with a number that you can text, and if it's okay with you, Shelley, I'd like to give that number
Absolutely.
for for people. And I'm just going to look down at it. It's 844-997-2121, and I'll give it again. 844-997-2121. We're very fortunate here in the Syracuse area to have Vera House, which is a tremendous partner. We have a long partnership with them, going back several decades now for the Baldwinsville Police. Um, and there's a lot of resources available if people are stuck in a situation right now where there's some domestic violence going on in the home, or there's that threat of domestic violence, and they feel as though that they just need some help. And you could always pick up the phone and call 911, and one of our officers is going to obviously respond and do the best we can to make sure everyone there is safe. But if you don't feel as though that is something you want to do, there's some other ways of reaching out for help as well.
Well, when you had mentioned that the text and sending a text, and I will type that number into this post so people have it handy.
Right.
If you text me after we're done talking, I'll add that to the post. But sometimes you're in a situation where you can't make that phone call. You sit in the same room with that person, or they listen, or they look at everything that you're doing. So to be able to shoot that text out, kind of like on the down low, no sound to it. Let me put it
Right.
that way. That's really a great option. I wasn't aware that we had that phone number. The Vera House, obviously, there's been some fundraising in the Village of Baldwinsville. I know the Cause to Celebrate ladies did something with it. It's been around, and that's awesome. But in listening to you, there's other options out there as well, which is great. It is hard to be cooped up with people, the same people over and over again all day long when you're used to going to work and having breaks. We're not getting those breaks right now. So, but that is a shame to hear about, this morning, and obviously someone going into the hospital.
Yeah, and to your point, I know I mentioned it in previous conversations we've had that people are used to their own routines, and this is a new normal, and it takes a long time for that to adjust for folks, as well as all the other stressors that are going on, whether it be financial or family dynamic or whatever might be happening. So I think really the key for my message today and then kind of was to talk about the domestic violence issue, and then to partner that as well with what I talked about a little bit last week, because as I looked at our calls, and I know our officers actually had to get into a physical tussle with an individual that was suffering from some mental illness issues, and those two things sometimes can go hand in hand. And as I discussed last week, you can simply call 211. There's a lot of mental health resources out there that are available for people. We understand that this is a very stressful and difficult time for folks, that social isolation does not help sometimes people that are struggling with mental health issues. So I think it's important that those two things kind of be the dominant part of my talk today, because knowing what we're seeing and what we're dealing with, while it might not be every hour of every day that we're dealing with this, it's certainly it's enough going on, and it's to the level of potential violence, shall I say, or issue, that I think it's critical it be brought to the forefront, and it not stay hidden in the closet, so to speak.
No, and I guess to your point, the escalation, the longer this goes on, unfortunately, there might be an escalation more so than that. So hopefully, and if you heard that, that was my dog agreeing with us as he's under the table.
Well, it's always good to have people or people, pets, or whomever there to support us. So.
That's right. On a lighter note, I almost feel bad bringing this up, because when you think of domestic violence, it's so serious, and it's something that needs to be people need to be aware of and sensitive to. But you had asked me earlier if I had any questions or anything in the community, and I do have on a flip side, just more of a curiosity when it stands to how the police view things. We can't have the birthday parties. We can't have, these social gatherings. So the way, and you've probably seen them on social media too, there's a lot of birthday parades out there, people driving past the signs. My son, and I hadn't thought about it, but my son was pulling out of a street in Radisson, and he called me and asked me if I knew of anything that was going on that he should have known for the seniors, because he is a senior, because he saw some cars going past and they were like families of seniors, people his grade. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with the seniors. It was somebody's birthday, and they had all driven out to go past with their signs and balloons. But he said he couldn't turn out, and he didn't care, but he couldn't turn out because it was almost like a funeral procession. Like they all stayed together. We may or may not participate in one of those as this continues. Is that an issue? Are you guys finding problems with the parade per se in traffic, or is it just something that, it's a one-time thing? And again, it seems simple, but if this continues, I just didn't know if you guys are getting any calls on that, if there's a protocol people should follow if they're doing the birthday parades. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And we haven't really gotten any calls on that to my knowledge. And off our Facebook page last week, you might have noticed Officer Rosie, our little now 4-year-old officer, she came home from Golisano Hospital. And we were very pleased to be part of a parade that occurred for her.
Awesome, yeah.
And we one of our officers videoed that, and Rosie and her mom and dad just sat on the tailgate of a pickup truck in their driveway while all the cars drove by, and social distancing was in place. And I actually saw somebody post earlier this morning or last night and question, geez, no masks that Rosie and her family didn't have on, but you got to remember her family's around her all the time, and no one else was anywhere really near her. Our officer kind of zoomed in on them, and as people went past, so everyone was in the street. They went past and had a lot of great things to say. I took part in that. I was very, very pleased to do that, and I know that that's going on with a lot of folks. So those types of things are great. Obviously, we would just ask people to do them in as safe a fashion as possible. And if you do happen to encounter one of them, maybe wait the extra 30 seconds to a minute, let those cars go past before you try and pull out, because then you're in the middle of it. They're probably not going to be going very fast. You might get a little bit frustrated, and in these times, the last thing we need is that type of frustration. And I think it's great that people in the community and friends and family want to support those folks. So you get some people together and just drive nice and slow through and beep your horn a little bit and have some balloons. And it's a nice, it's a nice gesture, and it just shows the different ways that we can kind of come together and still have fun, but doing it in a responsible manner.
Okay. And that's good here. And I did watch the parade with Rosie. Now that you said that, that was great. She's the cutest little girl. I watched her in her police car a few months ago, and it's great that you guys, allow her to be part of the police force, and you guys, I don't know, you light up when you talk about it. Susan Bertrand lights up when she talks about it. It's a great thing that our community, is doing for her and her family. And she just seems like a sweetheart.
Well, and you'll notice I'll sit up a little bit. I don't know if people can see, but on my shirt, I have I'm carrying a beads of hope,
Yeah.
beads of courage, and from Sue Bertrand, from Maureen's Hope, and this is in honor of Rosie, and all of us here have been carrying these, and our plan was to go deliver these to Golisano. Obviously, with what's happening, we're not able to do that. So we're still wearing the beads. So it just gives us an opportunity for a longer time to wear these. And I actually distributed some of these to chiefs of police from around the central New York area. So there's a number of them that are carrying these, and for us, it's our privilege to have Rosie as part of our force. Again, we're hoping that we can have Rosie in her car, actually on patrol in the downtown area of Baldwinsville sometime this spring or summer. That'll obviously be dependent upon what's going on, and her health is going to be the main thing. But we plan to get her out and about and have her on patrol, and she's got a lot of spunk, and she's just great. So anything we can do to help her and support her and her family, we're doing.
Perfect. That sounds awesome. The other thing I want to just mention before we part ways for the week is the T-shirt behind you. I believe that's one of the Baldwinsville Where Kindness Comes Full Circle T-shirts, if I'm correct.
And, that got delivered to me late last week, and I thought it would be a perfect backdrop to have. And it's, if you can't see, it's got the 13027 in the middle of the heart, and I think as much as our community has come together and really done as much as possible to help those in the community that might need it, but even those that feel as though they're doing well, it allows them to give back to the community. So it's just a great thing, and that's going to be hanging in my office for a little bit.
Nice, perfect. So,
yeah.
Well, as always,
one more thing, if I could just make mention of it, though.
Sure.
I'm getting a lot of notices from organizations I belong to, law enforcement organizations, whether it be through the federal or state level, that unfortunately, and I've talked about this before too, there's a lot of scams going on now surrounding the coronavirus, and people reaching out looking for whether it be social security numbers or bank account numbers to guarantee that your stimulus check is going to be deposited correctly, or guarantee that your stimulus check is en route or in advance on your stimulus check. As we know, there's been some hiccups with those. Some folks have got them, some haven't. And it's just important to keep in mind that if you're being called and asked for that type of information, it's a scam. It's not real. People are not going to call you for those things. So I just want to really reiterate to our residents and the folks that are listening to those, to our videos, that that's not legit, and to not give that information out.
No, I appreciate it. Bob Wicks had mentioned something about that last week, that he as well was getting questions and inquiries into that. So, it's a shame that people take advantage.
As much as we can just reiterate that, whether they listen to myself or Mayor Clark or Bob, whoever they hear it from, it doesn't matter to me. Right. All that matters is that the information gets out there. So
no, absolutely. It probably wouldn't even hurt at the end of these episodes or the beginning just to mention it, because there's nothing worse than what we're going through, and it's hard enough, and then to have something like that happen to you on top of it. So
I agree.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Chief. As I said earlier, pleasure to talk to you every week. And I will, if you text me that phone number so I can put it on the post
Oh,
if people
sure.
want for the texting. And
All right.
all right, I'll let you know if any other questions come in this week. And if not, I look forward to talk to you next Monday.
Sounds good. See you then.
Okay.